DC after being swept by LSU opening weekend, losing the first game of this series last night. As Riley Smith digs in, first pitch is a little bit outside, and we're underway. Right on time, 3:02 local time here in Gainesville. Riley Smith has been a great leadoff for this group in the last handful of games, hitting over 400. Has found some power this year, but a Kentucky lineup that had a lead in the top of the third. Scored 2 runs in that top half of the inning. They're headlined by Aaron Koffel, the all-time home run and RBI leader in Kentucky history. Take a look at this starting 9. You have freshmen throughout on the 3-hole and in the cleanup spot. Second year for Grace Lorsong, transfer from Indiana, but a lot of that production, 1 and 2 in the lineup for Rachel Lawson. And that's the way to start it. Riley Smith, who is a threat to take off, 8 of 8 in stolen bases this year as the leadoff base runner here for Kentucky after they were struck out in order in the first against Rothrock yesterday. And here is one of the all-time greats in Kentucky history, native of the state of Indiana. We had a matchup of 2 of the greatest high school players in Indiana State history last night, Keegan Rothrock and Aaron Koffel. Gets Marshall in the midweek, broke the Kentucky RBI record, surpassing Abby Cheek, has already claimed the home run record all time. 65 career bombs.
And Kyle, Ava Brown yet to throw a strike in this game, and you can see coaches coming out to check, kind of see what's going on. And I mean, especially with Kentucky's lineup, these first 2 hitters in Smith and Koffel can definitely be. That was a stressful time.
Well, Brown finds the zone. Meanwhile, we should mention Anthony Small has entered this umpiring crew. He is behind home plate. Keith Kearney fell yesterday, needed attention from the Florida medical staff. He is not a part of the umpiring rotation today. So Anthony Small behind home plate. Will Lopez Pilat, who was behind the plate last night, he's at first. And Chris Neighbors is now at third.
So not just the players on the field having to make adjustments today.
And that hits Aaron Koffel. So after 2 consecutive strikes, after the meeting in the circle, first and second, nobody out.
Again, we were talking about Brown earlier. She throws a lot to that arm side, and Koffel is a hitter that does tend to crowd the plate a little bit. Not to where she's leaning over the plate, but she's definitely trying to take away that inside pitch. So it's one of those that, you're not really surprised that she gets hit, but again, Brown's still looking for that control a little bit this first inning.
Here's Allie Hutchins. Talk a lot about Florida being a young team. Kentucky, the same thing. They have some freshmen in some key spots, including Hutchins hitting just below 300. And Rachel Lawson said this earlier this week. I mean, you still have COVID seniors. You have 18-year-olds going up against the prospect of 23 and 24-year-olds on the other side. So mistakes are part of the game, but she loves how they've contributed to this lineup early.
And I love how she talked about that the freshmen are just not intimidated. They are not afraid. Because, I mean, you think about just the maturity levels differing throughout the team and also just managing them as a coach. It's a lot of different personalities, and so hats off to those freshmen.
There's Rachel Lawson, longtime head coach. Kentucky has brought this team to heights they've not been. 1-2, little nubber, and that will twist foul. Plate. 1-2 is hammered foul. And this will be a key, Sydney, to Florida's success this year. Saturdays in SEC series. How many of those can they grab when Keegan Rothrock is not pitching?
Yeah, and especially looking ahead to postseason, the game is kind of going away from riding that one ace. So
line back up the middle. That hit the glove of Brown. Trickles into center. Smith got a good jump. The throw from Falvey's well late. As the throw down to second is not in time. RBI single from Allie Hutchins. What a way to start for the Cats. Up 1-0 in the first.
And Kentucky not happy with the result of yesterday's game, and they are just coming out firing in this first inning. You can see here this pitch by Brown, not a bad pitch. It's really a ball and a half off the plate, and Hutchins does a great job getting around it, driving it up the middle, and Riley Smith, very powerful whenever she runs, got a good jump, able to score the first run of this game for Kentucky.
18th RBI for Hutchins. Now brings in another freshman from Lexington, Kentucky. That's Peyton Plotz. Time is called. So turning the page, I mean, being an athlete in this league, there's nights that go sideways. But the good thing about this sport is it's almost every day.
Yeah, and I mean, the season is so long. I mean, you can play up to 70 games in a season, so it's really important to kind of have that flush it mentality of, you have a bad day and you're going to have them. Tomorrow's a new day. The sun's going to rise again. You're going to get up, put your pants on the same way you did yesterday, and come to the game and do your best to ball out.
Chance to tie up the series. Kentucky still looking for that first SEC win. And the 1-1 to Plotz swung through for strike two. This is the first 0-4 start for a Kentucky team. You have to go back to 2006. They started that year 0-7. Big pitch here for Ava Brown. Plotz fouls it back.
Yeah, and you're talking about the start for Kentucky. I really think you can look around the SEC conference and looking at the numbers that each team is producing and then their win-loss records, I feel like they just don't match, And so that just speaks to how deep this conference is and how it's really anybody's game.
Well off the plate count, evens 2-2. So we've already seen an early circle meeting for Ava Brown. After a walk, hit by pitch, RBI single from Hutchins, still nobody out here in the first inning. And the 2-2. Do we have another marathon inning right off the jump?
Yeah, I mean, Kyle, I guess we just better buckle in our seatbelts and get ready for a ride.
Our friends Kevin Brown and Amanda Scarborough yesterday, they had to do a lot of filling on the TV side. A 1-hour third inning. 40-minute bottom half of the frame. The Gators scored 9 in that inning. A long stare here for Brown. Little chopper. Ava Brown, very athletic, fielding her position. Also plays some infield for this group. A little off-balance throw to get Plotz, but both runners move up, so a productive first down. Now 3 upperclassmen in this starting infield for Tim Walton. That still boasts the best fielding percentage in the country entering the weekend. Here's Grace Lorsong.
Yeah, that's one thing about whenever you're facing a Florida defense, you get on base, you 100% earned it. Especially looking at that outfield, it looks like there's a lot of grass, but I can promise you that not a lot of things drop out there.
Shading Lorsong a little bit around to the left. Former Indiana Hoosiers senior. And it's 2-1. Lorsong had a big home run against the Gators last year that beat Florida, clinched the first series win against the Gators since 2011. Played 4 total games last year. That's rocketed towards Walsh, looking towards home. They have Koffel and a pickle. And the extra flip towards Wallace, and the tag is applied. Both runners will move up. So a smart play from Reagan Walsh. They get the lead runner. And Cindy, you like the initial instinct there from Reagan Walsh.
Yeah, and Reagan Walsh, again, coming into third base today, did not play there last night, and the game knows, so new girl gets the ball, making a very heads-up play. And Koffel just kind of got left out to dry there. I mean, that's a hard-hit ball to third base, so, again, I never really ran bases, but I probably would have done the same thing. I mean, you think that ball's going to get through, and it's just right up on you so quick.
Brings in now Chris Hamilton here with 2 on and 2 gone. And you wonder if this might be the inning that Kentucky might wind up regretting at the end of it, if they only get 1 run.
Yeah, this is definitely an inning you want to take advantage.
Well, Hamilton skies this to shallow right. Doesn't look like they'll put up a crooked number, and they won't. Kistler makes the catch.
The most seasoned pitcher on this Kentucky staff has had a little bit of control issues, but is really looking to get ahead of this Florida staff, especially since her team scored in the top half of this inning.
Dealt with an injury last year, missed 15 games with a forearm issue. You saw her numbers on the screen, just over 2 ERAs, won 10 games for this group. This is her 11th start in 70 innings and has to face this Florida lineup, which is tops in the SEC in just about everything, with Kendra Falby as the table setter. And the 2-0 is a strike. Listen to this, Sydney. Gators lead the SEC in average, runs, hits, doubles, triples, RBI, walks, stolen bases, on base, and slugging. It's pretty good.
I mean, I guess they're all right. I guess that's up to standard.
We've seen some really good Florida lineups in years past, but this one runs as deep as anyone we've seen in recent history.
And I think, of course, being on the inside, it may not come as a surprise to all of these girls that have worked together since the fall, but I feel like from the outside, you didn't really know what to expect from this Florida team this year. There's so many new faces, a completely new battery, and so you're really wondering, like, okay, well, we know Skylar Wallace is coming back, Kendra Falby's coming back. They've been pretty good, but, I mean, this lineup is just so deep.
The emergence of Walsh and Kistler as well. Count full to Falby. Slaps this foul. And the luxury to have somebody as consistent as Kendra Falby has been throughout her career. She's been outstanding in postseasons and in big moments. Was SEC all-second team a year ago. Coming into the weekend, first in the SEC in hits, fourth nationally. And when she gets on, that's when the chaos starts.
Right, so I'm sure Schoonover with his 3-2 count is, kind of in that spot. Of course, she doesn't want to give Kendra Falby anything to hit, but she sure does not want to let her get on base.
Stays alive. This will be pitch number 9 of the first at bat. There's Tim Walton on Sunflower Saturday. Of course, against Kentucky, you got to wear the orange. We'll show you the kicks that Tim Walton has on today that were styled by Bailey Goddard, member of the Gators, who's a tremendous artist.
Yeah, I don't know what size shoe Coach Walton wears, but if he leaves those laying around.
Well, just how the Gators, on the flip side, started their defensive portion of the first. Will be a walk to lead it off to Falby. Look at those kicks. You got the oranges, Florida oranges, the sunflower for Sunflower Saturday. Man, those are clean.
Again, Bailey Goddard, I do wear a size 11.
He has another pair as well that he's worn on Sunflower Saturday. That's when he breaks out the Bailey Goddard kicks. Talked to Skylar and BP earlier today. She says, I don't really have a whole lot for you other than I just see ball and hit ball. And she's done that.
Hey, sometimes the best thing that you can do is just keep it simple. Once you start thinking, overthinking, and you get too many socks in the top drawer, that's when everything start to go awry.
I like that saying.
Brought to you by yours truly, Kyle.
1-1 coming. Yesterday for Wallace, double, single was hit by a pitch. She's been hit by 9 pitches this year. Was almost plunked by that one. That's tied for a team best with the aforementioned Bailey Goddard.
And I think the reason that she's been hit so much is you want to get those inside pitches really into her.
Almost a spectacular grab from Koffel, and Smith were charging in. Koffel was lunging at it. And I think Tim Walton was barking towards Kendra Falby. Maybe if that ball was caught to tag up and go to second. She was too far off the bag at first.
Yeah, usually, especially over on that behind third base, if the shortstop is diving, it's going to take a lot for her to come up and throw that. But back to what I was saying, when you see where Skylar is in relation to the plate, she's a little bit off. So whenever you're throwing inside to her, you don't want to leave it a ball on the plate because that's going to get hit. And it's probably going to get hit hard. So if you're Schoonover and you're throwing inside, you want to throw it not inside to the strike zone, but inside to Skylar Wallace where she's standing. So that's probably why she gets hit so much.
And the payoff. Almost hit her again. That's ball 4. So another full count, another walk, 2 on, nobody out. Similar start again to what the Gators had in the top half of the first inning. And this is why you bring in a Jocelyn Erickson, because you have the 2 and Falby and Wallace that are so consistent in their on-base percentage. And that has allowed Erickson to drive in 38 this year. First one to her, just a little bit out.
Yeah, with this Florida lineup, you go from speedy lefty to triple threat lefty to power lefty. And so for Schoonover, again, you're just fighting for outs, whether it's thinking about, getting something on the plate where Jocelyn Erickson pops it up, maybe roll a double play. You want to keep it simple.
Walks have been an issue for this Kentucky staff. Come in 12th in the league, 92 as a group entering. This one laced on a line, left center field. That'll find the gap and go to the wall. Falvey scores. Wallace gets the late red light from Tim Walton as a throw into Koffel. And an RBI double for Jocelyn Erickson. Ribby number 39 on the year, and the Gators tied up at 1.
Kyle, I'm going to be honest, I'm really surprised that Skylar Wallace stopped, but you can see a good pitch on that outer half by Schoonover, but again, Jocelyn Erickson able to take it opposite field for the double and to get Florida back on the board. And patience, because you don't want to throw the same pitch too many times in a row.
Now you have to face Corbiotis. I showed you the numbers from last night. 3 for 3, 4 RBI, new season high for her, one off a career high. The next is popped up, out of play. Talked a lot about Sydney too, Wallace, Falvey, Erickson, but maybe not enough about Corbiotis, her consistency so far.
Right, you think you get through those top 3 in the lineup and you can kind of take a breath and reset. And Corbiotis is like, no thank you, not yet. You still got me.
Preseason All-American. Takes low and in. Has already won an SEC Player of the Week. That came in early March. Such a good approach. Leads Florida in walks with 30. Is on base 61% of the time. That's second in the SEC. Takes ball 4, 5-pitch walk. That's the third free pass of the inning. And this is a nightmare start for Kentucky after taking a 1-0 lead. It's Katie Kistler, who's been scorching hot, will step up with the bases loaded.
And if you're Schoonover in this situation, of course, this is a time where, again, it can go one of 2 ways. You either feel that pressure and start to give into it, or you just go back to what you know and what your best stuff is. Again, you're trying to go around the zone. Looks like she's still trying to find out, how far she can get off the plate to get that strike call.
And you could tell, talking to Rachel Lawson, she's not been thrilled with how the corners have been called so far this year. We'll see how that changes, if at all, in SEC play. You have a veteran home plate umpire today in Anthony Small.
Yeah, well, since I was a pitcher, of course, I'm always going to side with the pitcher. I think a ball off, maybe even 2 balls, should be a strike because, again, everyone on the outside does not know how hard you work to hit that pitch in the bullpen day in and day out.
Well, me as a former, hitting in the 3-hole in 6th grade in Little League, I say no. 1-2, rolled back up the middle into center field. Past the drawn in infield. Wallace is in. Erickson stops at third. And Kistler again comes through. 10 of her last 17 in the last 7 games, with now 12 RBI during that span, and Florida's in front.
And again here, the pitch by Schoonover is a ball off the plate. It's a screwball. It looks like a good pitch, and really, it's a ground ball, which is what you want as a pitcher, but it seems like the ball has eyes with Florida right now. I mean, they are just hitting it where the defenders are not.
Here's now Reagan Walsh. Look familiar. Bases loaded. Had a grand slam last night in the 3rd inning, 3rd of her career, and again gets an opportunity. Oh, by the way, still with nobody out.
Yeah, I was just about to say, Kyle, we've been through a good part of the lineup here, and there's still no outs.
Reagan's home run last night, 250 feet. Career season, 11 home runs, 35 RBI. Swings away at the 1-1. Little looper behind home. Hamilton can't get there in time. Let's go back to last night through the raindrops at KSP. Reagan Walsh, a moonshot.
And I mean, she just got every part of that ball through her swing. She has so much power.
It was her 25th career home run. Just a whole different confidence. Got Chan, lofts one out to left. Smith is in. Erickson will tag as the throw is cut off. And when Walsh gets out, she still brings in a run. A sac fly for Reagan Walsh, her third of the year. And the Gators extend their lead to 3-1. And that's the first out here in the opening inning.
And it even looks like that Walsh got pretty jammed on that pitch and still was able just to muscle it out far enough. Just shows how much power that she has.
Here's now the two-way star. And Ava Brown takes outside from Schoonover. Okay, if you're Stephanie Schoonover, how do you try and settle in here?
Well, see, this is where I'm going to show my age. You know, the rule changes here, especially with the pitch clock. Like, if I was out there, it's one of those I'd be trying to slow the game down and get it more set to my pace. But, again, with that pitch clock, it makes it hard to do so. So, you know, you just got to start really – you got to take it one pitch at a time. You know, especially whenever you finally just got your first out. It feels like you've been out there for forever. But if you get ahead of yourself, that's where things start to really spiral. So it's really important just to, you know, after you throw your pitch, catch the ball, take your breath, maybe find a focal point in the field that you look at the back of the circle, and just think about your next pitch.
Pitch 35 coming to Brown. Her counterpart today, who found some issues with the zone in the top of the first. That seems like a long time ago. Gatorade National Player of the Year. Gators have two of those in their rotation alongside Keegan Rothrock. Waits on the 3-1. There's a strike. And does get the corner that time from Anthony Small.
And something I've noticed so far with Schoonover is, you know, she is getting a lot more strike calls on that arm side, but those are also the pitches that are getting hit. So that's what makes it hard, is you want to throw your best pitch, but if they're also hitting that, you know, you got to mix that in too. So thinking about, okay, one ball, you know, you don't want to necessarily get all the way up to 3-2 counts, but that one ball isn't going to hurt you, maybe setting it up so that way you can throw your best stuff.
Screw, rise, change, and curve for Schoonover. Rocks and fires. Swing and a miss, and a big strikeout for Schoonover. That's the second out.
You can see Schoonover going back to that arm side, throwing that rise ball, starting low, just gets Ava Brown, swings right through it. And that's something, if you're Schoonover, you just put that back in your memory bank. So whenever you get into those tight counts, those tight situations, think about that pitch, what it felt like, and how can you replicate that?
Senior right-hander, pitched 261 career innings. It's McClellan seeing a start. The freshman as the DP, down to the count 0-2. Cassidy McClellan has had limited opportunities, but when she's been in the lineup, she has been effective. One of those versatile pieces in the 8 slot for Tim Walton. Can slap, can stand in. Has some of the best velo numbers off the bat in the preseason. Has a lot of power as a freshman.
And Schoonover got ahead early on McClellan, so again, starting to get in a little bit more of a rhythm. Then threw 2 balls in a row. I'm interested to see what she comes back with.
Gann looks to dot that outer edge, 3-2. It's been a battle so far to get that outside pitch.
And see, I love that pitch. I do think it's a ball off, but I do think, you know, that's something that when you're figuring out the first inning, are you going to get that or are you not? And she did a good job there bringing it in just a little bit. And McClellan, of course, fouled it straight back. So if you're a pitcher, you're thinking, okay, she's on my timing. So next pitch, do you risk it and throw a changeup? You know, it's one of those, we don't know how comfortable she is. We haven't really seen that changeup a lot this inning. Maybe she's trying to save it, but.
And gets the strikeout. So McClellan goes down on strike. Gave up a pair of free passes to the first two. Jenna Blanton will lead off, center fielder for the Cats. And it was a rough start, Sydney, for Ava Brown. Just could not find the strike zone.
Yeah, and that's something I feel like every pitcher battles with, whether it be mentally or, you know, actually having it show, is every pitcher, every game, every umpire is different. And no matter how standard the strike zone may be, you still have to adjust to the umpire's strike zone and kind of just see how far you can push the limits.
As Blanton trying to bunt her way on. Cats come in 318 as a team. They blasted 43 home runs. Their average is 5th in the SEC. That's where their strength is. It's in their offense. And in the basement low, 2-2. Of course, having to replace the likes of Kayla Kowalik is never easy. You got a chance to talk to her in the pregame. She's now a graduate assistant in that dugout. As Blanton lines this towards Wallace, an air Jordan leap. Maybe an air Wallace out at short for the first out.
And again, we go back to saying it. If you get on base against Florida, you 100% earned it because they make plays like this. Skylar Wallace with such a good vertical. And Ava Brown fired up in the circle.
There's Margaret Tobias. Look what I found, says Ava Brown. Right back to it. How many of those have you had in your career, Sydney? The one that come right at you.
Too many. And you can see Ava Brown, luckily, I mean, that looked like it was just kind of right where her glove finished, and you see her laughing. Be interested to know if that's one of those like, oh, haha, look at me, or one of those like, oh, haha, I'm scared. Because that would be me.
Well, Ava Brown, we talked about, is such an incredible athlete. She's played a lot at first base this year when she's not starting. Lauren Borzilleri will hit here in the 9 spot. Two-hopper for Wallace on a back pedal. Nice bounce-back inning for Ava Brown. 7, 8, and 9 go down 1, 2, 3. Changed up until this year. The only pitcher that she's calling signals for is Stephanie Schoonover. Because of the familiarity for the veteran righty, she'll take on Mia Williams and deals strike one.
Yeah, and I can't speak on behalf of all pitchers, but most of us are creatures of habit. So once you have that 3-year relationship, you're not going to change it for your last year.
Next to Williams, lays down a bunt that hit her, so it will be a foul ball. She didn't think twice about it. Coach Lawson taking over the pitch calling duties is a very good pitcher in her own right at Kentucky. Grace Ballman, her first season in the dugout. Calls the signals for Sydney Langdon, Jaden Vickers, Taylor Hess, Alexia LaContenna. So certainly an adjustment for Rachel Lawson, I would say, in that dugout. Probably chomping at the bit most times when Schoonover is not pitching.
Well, I'm sure. She says it's definitely given her more time to kind of survey what else is going out on the field.
As Williams gets hit. That's another thing Rachel Lawson brought up is the plate management for the Gators. The amount of times they get hit. They're able to lean out, but not lean out enough to get called for it.
And Florida has been doing that for as long as I can remember. I mean, just having that amazing plate management, even back whenever we would travel to KSP, it just always seemed like they knew exactly where the ball was whenever you were throwing it. And, you know, you'd throw some pitches that are half a ball on and maybe the umpire's not giving it that day, and they knew it.
See Mia Williams in your screen, labeled as a phenom. Homered last night against Rachel Lawson's staff in that marathon 3rd inning. Now it turns the lineup over for Kendra Fulby. If the Gators get Mia Williams going, look out.
think she's the only hitter on this team that has like below a 330 batting average.
Hitting 178 entering the day, but again, homered last night.
Again, you think as a pitcher, that's the hitter you want to go right at. But then again, if she's getting hot because that home run last night, you know, that's in the back of your mind too. So there can be a lot of thoughts going on if you're a pitcher against this offense.
1-0 is bunted down towards third. Lorsong throws on to first. Successful sacrifice for Falby moves Williams into scoring position to second. So get him on, get him over, and Wallace will try to get him in. Well, look at me, Williams. For most of the season, I don't believe she's had those. They kind of look like Oakley glasses, but the clear version. I believe that's new for her.
I mean, they look cool. I mean, I would love some, you know, to wear up here in the booth.
You're just asking
really.
For everything. Shoes, glasses.
I mean, if it looks good, why not?
You know what? Make it 2. Here's Skylar Wallace. She walked and scored in the first.
But, you know, I will say, of course, we don't know. You know, it could be those are prescription. Maybe they have some sort of lens in them that help. So.
Yeah. 1-1 is rolled over, foul.
But also, too, I mean, I've seen players who will wear glasses and maybe they don't even have. They maybe have a clear lens, but there's nothing in them. It's just more of a mentality thing. You put them on, and you're this completely different person.
I have to investigate more about those glasses if it's something that does help her see better, and maybe that's part of the issue early in the year, because she has looked different over the last handful of games. Wallace pops this up into the cloudy sky. Lorsong makes the catch.
Well, you know, Kyle, it could be as simple as, you know, we are in Gainesville, Florida, where allergies and pollen are just in there all the time. Maybe it's just to keep her eyes clear.
That's why you have the window closed right now.
100%.
Everywhere
pollen is not going to get me today.
Everything is covered in a green film right now because of the pollen here in Gainesville. Williams at second with 2 gone. Schoonover trying to throw up a 0 here in the second after a marathon first inning. Erickson ripped an RBI double that drove in Falby in the first. It was her 8th double of the year.
Schoonover seems to be a lot more around the zone this inning for sure.
Tim Walton considered Jocelyn Erickson the best all-around hitter in the fall and in the spring. Again, that was a surprise to many because you still have Skylar Wallace in this lineup. Take strike 2. Part of a national champion Oklahoma team last year. Tim Walton did his job in the transfer portal, that's for sure. Erickson and Otis. Swings away, Baltimore chopped to second. That's Tobias on to first for the final out, so the Gators get one up right through our center field camera as Riley Smith takes low.
These look like some thick, heavy raindrops. It's not just a little light mist here.
This is one of those Florida rain squalls that just come in and might exit in a minute or so. Change up from Ava Brown, 1-1. Keegan Rothrock had to battle through this last night. Both pitchers had to in that marathon third. Ava Brown's got that towel on the back of her belt. Also, you got the raindrops that will kind of settle on the brim of the helmet for the hitter.
You can see Ava Brown, too, just keeping that ball under the glove. She has her rosin. And you can see Rachel Lawson being smart here, calling a timeout.
Yeah.
I mean, that's giving more time for that ball, that glove to get soaked, keeping that hand for the pitchers. It's really hard to keep dry. I mean, there's so many different ways to try, but you just can't get away from the rain.
It's really coming down. Change up back to Brown, fields and fires to first for the out. And I have not seen a radar, so I can't speak on it, but the assumption would be they know this is going to come and go like it did last night.
can see Ava Brown switching out the ball now. Must have gotten a little bit too wet. I mean, I remember whenever I was playing and pitching and, you know, we'd get an out, if it was sprinkling, I was like, do not throw around the horn. Give that ball back to me. We are going to keep it dry.
Well, looks like Tim Walton now is going to come out and maybe try to stall things. Just tell the umpires, look, let's...
Who are not from Florida. This is just the daily occurrence. And I feel like the only person that it could really be an inconvenience for is Ava Brown. Luckily for her, though, only 10 minutes, so, you know, maybe just as much time as you would spend in between innings. You know, usually if it starts to get longer than that, then you have to start re-warming up again, worry about your arm getting cold. That's whenever it really starts to bother you.
Sun peeks right back out. It's like a cinematic masterpiece between Ava Brown and Aaron Koffel. You have the shadows behind them, the sunlight between them.
Kyle, you make it sound so pretty, but it still just gets on my nerves.
Oh, look at this sunlight. Where did this come from?
Where's the rainbow?
Give me my sunglasses. Aaron Koffel takes a strike. Last year, the nation leader in walks, on base percentage. Has seen a lot of 3-ball counts in her time. Gators with 1 out, bases empty. Not sure they want a whole lot to do with it. Launches this foul. All-time home run and RBI leader in Kentucky history, Aaron Koffel.
Oh, sunshine and rain at the same time. Isn't there some old wives' tale that goes with that, that it's going to happen at the same time tomorrow?
Payoff pitch. Jam job roller to Walsh at third. Through the sunlight. Throws out Koffel for the second out. So Koffel was on once, was hit by a pitch in her first at bat. Plate appearance, I should say. Yesterday was 0 for 2, was intentionally walked. So the Gators have limited her effectiveness so far. That'll bring in Allie Hutchins. Had an RBI single in that lone run of the first. Kentucky took an initial lead. That was short-lived with a 3-run bottom half of the opening inning against Stephanie Schoonover. She grew up a Kentucky fan. Dad went to Kentucky, said she always wanted to play in the SEC. Grew up 255 miles away from Lexington in Paducah, Kentucky. Check swing foul. About 4 hours away from Lexington.
I always love stories like that, you know, where you find out from the players that they went to the same school that their parents did, so it kind of keeps that tradition in the family. And, of course, you have the stories where, you know, maybe parents played at a rival school. You know, I always think of like a parent went to Ole Miss and their daughter plays at Mississippi State.
Popped up. There's Erickson to make the catch for the final out of the inning. So we had a 10-minute weather plate. That first inning, the Gators sent 8 to the plate as this one hits Otis on the back foot. Maybe the softball's still a little slick for Schoonover.
Let's see. Looks like that then just kind of slips out of her hand and, you know, may have something to do with grounds. You know, usually with your footing as a pitcher, if your push-off feels a little slick or something, it kind of sends the whole pitch crazy. So it could have been something there, but...
Well, for the Gators, that is third consecutive leadoff base runner. Otis a threat to take off. Katie Kistler stands in. Boy, it's been a resurgence from 2 years ago when Katie Kistler had a career season. And this year, with an RBI single in the first, she's now driven in 30 runs. Here shortens up, a little drag bunt to the pitcher Schoonover, and Tobias covers just in time. And that's a successful sacrifice as Otis heads down to second.
Yeah, Kyle, just like you said, a successful sacrifice, a very well-placed bunt, maybe just a little bit too hard to Schoonover. That ball was just a little bit softer. I think Kistler beats that out, no problem. But hats off to Schoonover again. That dirt is freshly wet from our rain shower, so probably had a little bit of slick grip on that.
Brings in now Reagan Walsh, who got jammed on a fly ball to left in the first, was able to bring in a run. See the numbers for her. 11 homers, 36 RBI. hitting almost 370. And for her, things changed a lot entering the year. Mia Williams came in as a starting second baseman. That's where Reagan Walsh had played all of last year. So Reagan entered into the DP spot, played a lot of third, maybe even some first. Walsh uncorks on a ball, high fly ball to Riley Smith. Angles into foul ground. Otis just bluffs at second.
I really like how after that first inning, again, did not go the way that Schoonover wanted. She has really come back these last 2 innings. And again, with the leadoff getting on, she hasn't let it this multiply. She's really gone at the Gator lineup, inducing pop-ups, ground balls, again, whatever you can do to get an out.
Been trying to get those edges to start. Didn't get a whole lot of calls in the first, but throwing up a 0 in the second. And trying to throw up another 0 here in the third. Ava Brown 0 for 1 with a strikeout. And always had veterans in front of her for a lot of her career. Autumn Humes, Grace Ballman, who's now the pitch caller for everybody but Schoonover, assistant on the staff for Kentucky. Those two have really helped her mature in the past. Trying to find her footing.
You know, sometimes you step on the mound and maybe the cleat rolls a little bit and you're just like, okay, I need to start over.
And now 3-0. Nearing 70 pitches. Schoonover deals.
Schoonover trying to battle back against Ava Brown. Again, she's got 2 outs. She's really wanting to get this next one.
Brown uncorks on a ball down the line and left, and it is twisting just foul. Absolutely got a hold of it.
And again, you see this pitch from Schoonover. Looks like maybe it was going to be a rise. Needs to be a little bit higher because Ava Brown definitely had the number of that one. Just look at the crowd in the background of that. That was the best part.
Gator fans are trying to will it fair. Now the count full. Otis will get a jump. 3-2, 2 out. And ball 4.
And I don't blame Schoonover on that one. Again, you saw the pitch before. Ava Brown was on it. Had to thank her lucky stars probably a little bit that ball went fair. So, again, not playing with her on that last pitch.
That's the 3rd walk from Schoonover. Here's now McClellan, who struck out in her lone AB.
And that's, again, thinking ahead to the next batter. If you're Schoonover, again, that ball was so close to being a home run. You're at a 3-2 count. And you're like, well, I did strike out the next batter. So, again, if I lose this pitch, let's just try to make it my best one. And you have a base open. So, again, not the worst situation to be in.
And you have the 9-hitter in Mia Williams on deck. So you still have the top of the lineup in the hole. Rifles the 1-1. McClellan gets a piece, 1-2.
See, if I'm Schoonover in this position, and I know I have Mia Williams next, and then I want to go ahead and get McClellan so I can start that next inning off, not with the top of the lineup.
That's a great point.
So that way, maybe the next inning, again, Mia Williams has done very well, but if you have a little bit of a better chance with Kendra Falby and Skylar Wallace coming up with some outs.
Just off the plate, 2-2. Cassidy and McClellan played at Lakewood Ranch, coached by TJ Gels, father of Avery Gels, won a state championship in 2021. Takes ball 3. That was the first ever in Lakewood Ranch history. She went just a humble 4 for 4 with 2 triples and a walk-off triple in the school's first state title to clinch it. Not bad.
Not bad at all.
To the payoff again. Was teammates with Avery her freshman year of high school. Tried her hand in hoops, soccer, volleyball, gymnastics, cross country. Settled on softball.
Of course, I mean, we all understand why you pick softball out of all those. It's the best sport.
Payoff is swung through for strike 3. And Schoonover, a big K. That you thought be a lot of growing pains in SEC play, but I think the growing pains have been pretty limited for these two.
Yeah, I mean, looking at Brown's performance today, I think the growing pains are what you see in the first inning. You know, and that's, I'm not going to say that's typical freshman behavior, but that's what you expect from a freshman is, okay, a couple struggles through the first inning, trying to set the pace of the game, trying to find the strike zone. That's something that's really hard to work through. The fact that she came through pretty much unscathed. Again, Kentucky only gets 1 run. You're giving your team a really good chance of competing.
You see Peyton Plotz in the cleanup spot, 0 for 1. Grounded back to Brown. And there's a 3-0 count. This is how her start began.
Again, Peyton Plotz, you saw that batting average, that .404 batting average. That's definitely not something to play with.
And Schoonover has really battled, Sydney, you mentioned this during the break, to keep this within a 2-run game. It doesn't feel like it, but Kentucky's right in this one.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that, you know, again, the first inning was the one that she really struggled, but even then, only giving up 3 runs. She's really labored out there, and you can see how hard she's working. And, again, I feel like it's just been a really gutsy performance from her.
So it will be a walk to start the frame for Kentucky, and Plotz will bring in Grace Lorsong. Might have a pinch runner here.
We were also talking during the break with Schoonover working so hard in the circle. As a pitcher, you know, the one thing that you want from your team whenever they come in to hit is, hey, please just don't get a 1-2-3 inning. Like, I need a breath. Let me breathe for a second. So the fact that started with a walk is really in Kentucky's favor, not only offensively, but for Schoonover whenever she does come back out in the 4th.
So Delaney Sullivan, now the pinch runner. Shovel out to second to get the lead runner. They get 2, 6-4-3. Wallace to Williams to Gels. And 1 ground ball, 2 out.
Well, now I will say I would like to formally apologize to Stephanie Schoonover because I feel like I jinxed that for her. She was working in the dugout. That one's on me. But again, this Florida defense is just so good.
That's their 11th ground ball double play turn in the infield this year. Hamilton swings away at the first. Carissa Hamilton is taking over for Kayla Kowalik behind the plate this year. It's hard to replace a legend, Rachel Lawson said, but every weekend she's getting better. Said she's never met a tougher person. The amount of info that's been thrown at her, and most players will transfer, want to get an NIL deal somewhere else. But Carissa just keeps coming back day after day, tough and resilient.
Definitely, after that conversation with Coach Lawson, I had a new respect for Carissa Hamilton because, again, hard to come in that position anyways, but the fact that
this one skied out to shallow right, and Mia Williams makes the catch. It's hit by a pitcher first time. First one, a rocket shot out to center. There it goes off the palm trees. Mia Williams is now homered in back-to-back days. Look out, Mia Williams has arrived.
How we were just talking about how this is a hitter in this lineup you want to face, but Schoonover left it a little bit too much over the plate, and Williams just unloads on a missile over that center field wall.
The celebration, the elation, and the deep breath for Mia Williams of what has been a tough start, Sydney, hitting 178, entering the day. She homered just once in the first month and a half of the season. She's now homered in back-to-back days.
I mean, if you're not on this Florida team, that's something that you don't want to see because she seems to be the only hitter that hasn't been super hot. But if she's getting hot, then this lineup is going to be unstoppable.
Mia Williams underwent a severe injury in the summer of 2021. As Falby takes low, ball and a strike. It was at the PGF Nationals tournament. Feet first slide into second. Broke everything beneath her knee. I mean, it was a tough scene. Had 17 screws in her ankle. 7 months of rehab in Longwood, Florida, as they appeal, and Falby did not go around. Had a 5-hour surgery, did Mia Williams.
Jeez, I cringe at the thought of that, just thinking about how much pain.
Coach Walton was there that day that the injury happened. So she had to come back from that, and part of why the injury was so gruesome, the doctor says, because she's so powerful in her athletic frame. As Falby lofts this down the left side, Smith goes into the netting. Did she hang on? No. That would have been a top 10 grab from Riley Smith, and the rousing ovation from the Gator fans.
Riley Smith, again, goes in just hard.
Oh.
I will say I'm glad that net is there. It seems otherwise she may have went crowd surfing.
Yeah, that net took a beating over there. Meanwhile, Falby stays alive. She's had a couple of really good at-bats today. Now the 4th home run of this series for the Gators. 3 in 1 inning last night. Now 2 for Mia Williams. That was the 3rd of her career. Schoonover's payoff. Slapped to the 5-6 hole base hit. Gators now with a 3-run lead will send the reigning SEC Player of the Year to the dish and Skylar Wallace. This lineup is at scary levels at this time. Mention how Schoonover was able to battle through, throw up a couple of zeros after a 3-run first.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're a pitcher, you know you're going to give up home runs. Especially in the SEC, it's going to happen. But if you can limit it to where there's nobody on base. Again, I'm not saying that means that Schoonover meant to do that. Of course, you don't want to give up any, but if you're able to keep people off base and, just 1 run every once in a while from a home run, usually doesn't hurt you too bad. I mean, if you think about it, 4-1, Kentucky's still in the game.
Yep. 1-2 to Wallace. Told me earlier today in batting practice, I don't make adjustments to the pitchers. They have to adjust to me. Boy, ain't that the truth. Video game season last year. This is her 247th career game. Last year was a first-team All-American. Probably should have been a first-team All-American 2 successive seasons. Was second-team 2 years ago. She fouls this off her knee. Didn't hit her in the shin area. She doesn't bat with a shin guard. That hit her near the knee.
I feel like that's one of those you just look at and you don't really know how it happened. Like, how do you hit yourself there? Just the way it came off the bat. But either way, it hurts.
Yeah, that's let's get an ice pack later tonight. And the sheer force that she swings at, that don't help either.
I will say, this may be a mean thing to say as a pitcher, but as a pitcher, whenever that would happen, I'm like, okay, well, maybe they're thinking about that and not what I'm about to throw them. So, deters the mind just a little bit.
That's a great way to think of it. Hey, anything helps when you're pitching against Skylar Wallace.
Exactly. And as a pitcher, I'm like, okay, She did that on the inside pitch. Now I'm going to throw it a little bit more inside, see if she's got a little jump scare.
Runner takes off. Nobody was covering second. The Gators had the hit and run on because it was a half hack from Skylar Wallace, but it will be a stolen base for Kendra Falby, her 14th of the year. And Wallace goes down on strikes.
And Schoonover read my mind going back to that inside pitch. And Wallace just right over the top of it. Great pitch there by Schoonover.
4th K for the Kentucky starter. Now it's Jocelyn Erickson. It's 1 for 2. Loops this over second. Falby had to hold up and will stop at third. There's just no place to hide in this lineup. Runners at the corners.
I don't know if this was intentional or not, but Schoonover, again, with where the runners were on base, Schoonover was the cutoff on that play. And the fact that she was able to cut off that one hopper from center field, that may have saved a run.
Falby, too, also with it being shallow, had to hold up for quite some time, so could not score. Otis had 4 ribbies last night. Bats here with first and third, just 1 out. Runner takes off, first and third, played it, just bait a throw, and they go down to third as Hamilton. It'll be a stolen base. This is where Erickson gets most of her stolen bases. She's 7 of 7 on the year, but a lot of them are that first and third, let's bait a throw to second. But they all count the same, right?
I was going to say, are you telling me that she's not Speedy Gonzalez over there on the bases?
Just point to the stats.
I was going to say, if I'm reading the numbers, I don't know.
That's all I would do, just point to the stats. Nearing 100 pitches here for Schoonover in this start. Last night, Jaden Vickers, the starter, went just 2 1/3. 3-0, there is a base open. But again, you have the red-hot Katie Kistler behind Otis here, so there's pretty much protection 1 through 5 in this lineup.
So I would think, she's going to ride her out as long as she can because she does want to stay within this game.
Red light for Otis, takes a 4th pitch outside, 4-pitch walk. Well, we saw 3 of the Kentucky pitchers last night, all of them except Stephanie Schoonover. And now here's Katie Kistler with the bases loaded. I will say this, in the 4th inning here at KSP, if somebody hits a grand slam, they give away a card. The bases are loaded here in the 4th. If Katie Kistler hits a home run, somebody's going to be very, very happy.
How do they pick who gets the car? Is it on like a ticket number?
Yeah, so I guess you sign up and you get chosen for a certain day, but we read it off on the radio side all the time, and this is the inning. 419 hitter with the bases loaded. One and 2. Kistler grew up pretty close to Gainesville, by the way, Sydney, Orange Park, Florida, so a hometown kid.
I always think it's cool seeing the hometown kids come to the university again that they've watched their whole lives. And again, whenever you have a program like the University of Florida, who's been so good at softball for so many years, and you get to live out that dream of playing at that university.
You're not too fond of seeing the Gators on the other side during your playing days?
I was not, no. No, I was very bitter. I mean, lost a national championship to Florida. My career ended on this field. I mean, but I'm happy to be here with the Gators today.
But she's very happy. She has a smile on. She won't open the window, but she has a smile on today.
Well, Kyle, some of us have allergies, okay?
There's Tim Walton. Won a couple of those national championships back-to-back, 14 and 15. Kistler swings away. Little number back to Schoonover. Bobbles, comes home for the force. And they get Falby. Nice play from Schoonover to keep her balance. So Kistler is...
side, so that way she can only foul it off or get it up.
First one to Walsh is low. Ready, 1 in this inning. Home run from Mia Williams out to center field.
I'll be interested to see, too, if she mixes in some change-ups at this at-bat. I mean, we haven't seen it too much this game.
It hasn't thrown it a whole lot up until this point in the season.
And, of course, in a bases-loaded situation, if you're not the most comfortable with it, may not be the best time to throw it. Just interested to see if she would throw it as like a show-me pitch.
Oh, no place to put Walsh. See 3-10 with runners in scoring position. Now you have a hitter's count, 3-1.
If I'm Schoonover here, I'm just thinking about, okay, what can I do to induce a pop-up? What can I do to induce a little ground ball? Not a hard ground ball, just a little ground ball.
That one gets away. A run will score. That was ball four nonetheless. So Erickson comes across. Otis with a little extra pace down to third, and the Gators now a 5-1 lead. So 2 runs in here in this 4th inning. The Gators still trying to add on with 2 outs. Not a whole lot to hit for Reagan Walsh in that at bat, and I don't necessarily blame him. So now 37 RBI for Walsh. And a chance here for Ava Brown with 2 gone. Struck out and walked.
Is that Sydney Langdon in the bullpen?
Looks like it is Langdon in the bullpen. Right-hander. Take you inside broadcast, because you know what? That's what we do. Sydney hit the talkback for the wrong box. So that's why
You know, it happens sometimes.
Just so people didn't think Sydney was going crazy up here. Just missed. 3-0. Sydney, that is Sydney Langdon. Your namesake in the bullpen.
I mean, of course, if she has my name, I'm not going to get it wrong, whether it was inside the broadcast or on TV.
Crucial strike from Schoonover. Cannot let this game get out of hand. Gators run rule last night was the 26th in program history. That's tied a program record. They've done that twice. 2011, 2009. 3-1. Curled off to the right and clips the netting. Ava Brown, 2-time SEC Freshman of the Week. First 5 weeks of the season, the Gator freshman had 1 SEC Freshman of the Week. All 3 pitchers have won the award, including Olivia Miller through a perfect game opening weekend. Payoff is south for ball 4. Forces in another run as Otis plates, and it's now 6-1, and it looks like Rachel Lawson might make a change here. Well, it's Cassidy McClellan. Gets a shot here with the bases loaded. Mia Williams, who started this inning with a home run, she is on deck. 0 for 2 with 2 strikeouts. Schoonover with 4 Ks. Her line not set yet. All the runners on base, her responsibility. La Quintana pitched in the 2021 Tokyo Olympics for Team Italy. Pitched 4 of the 5 games. Did not allow a run in 2 innings against Team USA. Her mom was actually born in Italy. Older sister played for the Italian senior national team. And she's from Jersey, so that's always good in my book. Lenape Valley High School. Two and 2.
You can see she's staying on that outside part of the plate, really wanting to get that call. Got it on this one. Brought the ball in maybe just a couple of inches.
Giant pitch here. 2-2 with 2 out. La Quintana's delivery, Sydney, has a little extra hop to it. Try and get some more force towards home plate.
And I think, too, especially with her throwing so many drop balls and just balls lower in the zone, I think it's her way of getting her body in position to get on top of the ball.
Known for throwing a lot of strikes. This is popped up. Will this get Kentucky out of the inning? Lor Sung, the call and the catch. Jenna Blanton will lead off. Lays down a bunt. Ava Brown outside the circle. Quick toss. And it's there in time. It's tough to bunt against Ava Brown because, again, she's an athlete that can do so many different things well.
Yeah, and especially with the ball up in the zone, too. Usually those, whenever they get on the ground, they just roll a little bit harder. And just like you said, Ava Brown, athletic. So it makes it look super easy.
We're going to have Hallie Mitchell is going to pinch hit here in the 8th spot for Margaret Tobias, who lined back to Brown her first time. So trying to find anything right now for Kentucky to get going down 5 runs. You look around the SEC, you've seen Missouri already take game 1 against LSU. The Tigers, who got off to such a great start, had some votes for #1 in the country. They've now lost 3 consecutive SEC games after they lost their opening series to Ole Miss.
Yeah, and I think it comes down to, again, we were talking about at the beginning of the game, for the SEC, it's anybody's game. You can win or lose on any day.
Mitchell calls for time. That's why the SEC tournament is so fun every year. It's going to be in Auburn this year. These 2 teams played in the SEC tournament last year. But to win that regular season is so hard, and that's what makes it so impressive of what Florida and Alabama did for all those years, just essentially alternating who had won the regular season crown every single year up until, I believe, 2 years ago.
Right. I mean, it is a dogfight every weekend.
Mitchell golfs one to shallow left. Otis in on a slide. She's got it. Turning over that glove. Plus outfielder with a nice sliding play.
I think the fact that we had some rain earlier made that play look a little extra cool.
Slip and slide.
Yeah. Definitely getting some style points on what was already a great play by Otis.
We'll have another pinch hitter here for Kentucky. The Cassie Reisner will hit, freshman from Harvest, Alabama. Rachel Lawson going out. I actually gave the wrong player to the press box. Actually, it's Erica Thulin who's going to hit. Initially, Anthony Small had announced Cassie Reisner as the hitter, but it's Erica Thulin who's going to hit here in the 9th spot for Lauren Borzilleri.
Looks like on screen here we got a few more raindrops falling, Kyle.
With the sunlight as well. A 10-minute weather delay in the 3rd. Gators coming up. We'll be in Starkville for a 3-game set against Mississippi State, and then a big series. As Erica Thulin pops this up, and this will end the inning as Gels makes the catch. LSU's coming to town, and a couple of them a whole lot. They've been at LSU and now at Florida to start conference play. Mia Williams, who homered last time to the plate, gets hit here. Hit for the 2nd time. That's one way to bust out of a slump. One, hit homers, but just get on base. Have the feeling of getting on base, and she's been hit twice today.
And you can see, again, she crowds the plate, so the pitcher is going to throw her inside. Again, with her hitting 2 home runs the past 2 games, you're going to be sure to get it in. So, again, making it a little bit easier to get hit by the pitch. But just like you said, that's a confidence booster. If you're having trouble getting on base, you're going to do anything you can, and you're going to celebrate the little victories.
3rd hit by pitch for Kentucky pitching. Runner takes off. Late to see it was Hamilton, and Williams just has a stolen base. No real contests. Showcasing that speed. He's now 6 of 6 on the year in stolen bases. Falby back up the middle. That could bring in a run. Williams gets the late stoplight as Falby, wheeling all the way around first, is into second on the throw. So Sullivan elects to go home with it, and that allows Falby to head up an extra base, second and third.
And again, just a simple ground ball up the middle. And you don't have to do too much if you're Kendra Falby. And now she's standing on second base.
Brings in Skylar Wallace. Struck out her last time, and what was a hit and run. Meanwhile, for the Gators, a home run here in the bottom of the fifth would make it an 8-run differential and be a second consecutive run rule victory. As we're in the fifth inning, you need that 8-run differential. In the fifth and beyond to get in run rule territory would be a program record 23rd.
But they're not giving out cars for this one, right?
No. That came and went in the fourth.
I didn't know if it was going to be something else in the fifth, you know? There could be a theme for every inning.
Give away a motorcycle, maybe a speedboat. Last night was Kentucky's first run rule loss. And the 2-1. Wallace swings, trying to end it, and that one well foul. Perhaps a souvenir for a car passing by.
You can see Lacatena doing as much as she can to get that ball inside, but with Skylar Wallace off the plate, she's able to get her hands there, but still a foul ball.
Wallace gets underneath this one. Shallow center, Sullivan in. That could get in a run, but it was not deep enough. As Williams stays at third.
I'm wondering if Skylar Wallace was waiting on that inside pitch again, maybe a little bit lower. So I feel like that pitch that she did just miss it. That was a very high pop-up, but that's usually in her wheelhouse, that upper part of the zone.
Wallace without a hit today. Brings in Jocelyn Erickson. Multi-hit performance. He's now had 11 multi-hit games. He's driven in multiple runs 11 times this year. That leads the team. Lacatena, second Kentucky pitcher. Deals outside. He is still in town, but they had a replacement in Anthony Small today as Erickson swings through strike one. So he has to hop into a series that he wasn't initially assigned to, and he's home plate umpire, first go at.
Hey, we always talk about these players making adjustments, but umpires got to adjust to the game too.
Erickson foul tips that into the glove, 2-2. Former Oklahoma Sooner. So has been a part of big games. Played in 4 of the 5 Women's College World Series games last year. 10 of the 12 postseason games for the Sooners. Hit a home run in the regional. Decided to try something new. Transferred to the Gators in July after making 32 starts. Hit over 320, 7 home runs. And has already surpassed her RBI total from last year. It'll be a payoff. Looped in the air, foul ground. New third baseman, that's Allie Hutchins, who started the game in the DP spot, now playing at third for Grace Lorson. Also, Miko Harrison is now playing at first for the Wildcats, so 2 changes on the infield for Big Blue.
After getting 2 on at the beginning of this inning. La Catena has really done a great job of inducing outs. So I feel like Kentucky is just at this point, of course, they're going to go in on the offense, try to score some runs, battle back, but defensively trying to avoid the run rule. So great job by La Catena getting those runners in scoring position and then hasn't done anything with them since.
The way La Catena's pitched over the last game and change, who knows, she might see the ball tomorrow in that noon start. Inning and 2/3 scoreless last night. Enter with the bases loaded in the 4th. Facing Corbiotis here. Schoonover went 3 2/3, 6 earned runs. So Kentucky pitching has allowed now 16 earned runs this weekend. Otis pops this in the air, shallow right, and foul.
I feel like whenever you're a pitcher in the SEC, it's probably best going through conference, really just not looking at your ERA, your stats, because, I mean, you got to be able to flush games like these, especially for Kentucky. A weekend like this is going to inflate those ERAs and things like that. And if you're a numbers person, that can be really scary as a pitcher, because then you're like, oh, no, like, what do I have to do to get it down? You know, you can't really pay attention to that. You know what you're capable of.
Change up, bounce to Koffel. 2 hops, has got it. The throw to first just in time. The Gators might challenge this, and it would be a key.
I'd be interested to see what they're talking, if we could listen in. I'm trying to read lips,
Yeah.
but I'm just not catching it.
So it stands. Not conclusive enough to overturn anything. Looks to be the right call. The Gators, no runs, a hit, and 2 left. 6-1 trying to take the series. Kentucky only 1 hit. That was in the first inning. An RBI single from Allie Hutchins. Here they have a chance to maybe mount something with the top of the lineup. Riley Smith, Aaron Koffel, and Hutchins will hit. 6th inning of work for Ava Brown. What has impressed you the most about her, being an All-American pitcher yourself?
I really think her response after that first inning, not letting it spiral and just being able to come back, and she stayed a lot more around the strike zone. So that shows me, she went in after that first inning, probably talked with pitching coach.
Change up, bounce to second. Williams, rhythm toss.
And they maybe talked about, may have been some form issues, maybe some grip issues, but again, either way, she's come out, induced a lot of ground ball outs, lots of pop-ups, again, staying a lot more around the zone. Looks like she's honed in on her mechanics a little bit more.
Here's Aaron Koffel, all-time Kentucky great. Takes a strike. Ava Brown is a young softball player. Has said in the past, mentally I had to convince myself that I could be a good pitcher if I worked for it. So when I was younger, I never considered myself a good pitcher. I was always a better hitter than pitcher. And she's talked about how taxing it is mentally to be a two-way player, having to hone in on both sides of the ball, having to separate a batted bat, not bringing that out to the circle as Koffel gets hit. Second time she's been plunked here today. Will be on base with 1 out.
And going back to what you were saying, of course, let's look at the pitch first. Again, just gets a little bit away from Brown, and with Koffel already being on top of the plate, doesn't really have to even do much to move and get out of the way. But on that, whenever you're a pitcher that plays on both sides, I feel like in pitching terms, we always called those players unicorns just because they're so rare. And I feel like Florida has always had those types of pitchers that can do both. I mean, I think back to Lauren Hager, Alicia Ocasio, now you have Ava Brown. And they're not just, oh, okay, maybe she can bat for herself and just do something to get on base. I mean, She's driven some home runs. I mean, they're good hitters too, but it does take a lot of mental capacity to be able to separate the at-bats from going out to pitch. You know, you have to be able to get over things fast. You have to be able to compartmentalize.
There was a little bit of a gap after Alicia Ocasio graduated in 2018 where they didn't have that type of player, but you're right, they always did have that two-way athlete that can play multiple positions. Keegan Rothrock is a stellar two-way player, but has dealt with that compartment syndrome, so they're really focusing on just pitching, keeping her healthy, and obviously knowing where she's best, and that's in the circle. But both of these star-studded freshmen, they are two-way athletes. Allie Hutchins pops this up, shallow left. Wallace gives way for Otis. And there's two away.
I'm talking about that too. I guarantee you there are so many pitchers across the country who, you know, they hit in travel ball, they hit in high school ball. You have smaller rosters, and so they get to college, and I guarantee you that they want to hit so bad. But at this level, it is just so hard. And you know, in a selfish way, you're like, man, I just want to hit. I want to be able to come up in those situations where if my offense isn't able to put something on the board, then it's like I have something to do with it. I have that control. But sometimes it's not what's best for the team, and so you have to be selfless and trust your teammates. It helps a little bit with that trust part.
Peyton Plotz now will hit here with 2 outs. Kentucky now down to their final 4 outs. Rothrock went the distance yesterday in a 5-inning run rule. Ava Brown has gone the distance 5 times this year. And again, after those struggles in the first, has only allowed 1 hit. And that came in that first inning.
And I think part of that, too, was her offense coming in the bottom of that first and having her back and scoring more than Kentucky did.
Pulls the string on a changeup. And that will do it for the frame. Ava Brown picks up the 3 outs away from claiming their 2nd consecutive SEC series. Katie Kistler leads it off. It's Alexia La Quintana. A lot of cool additions in the dugout for both sides. Francesca Nea, part of the 3rd full-time paid assistant. Now an assistant on Tim Walton's staff, All-American. As Kistler wraps this to right field, base hit. Another multi-hit performance for Kistler is just on another level.
You can see this pitch here right on the outer half. And able to have a long barrel get around it, drive it over the head of second base to get this inning started for the Gators.
8th multi-hit game of the year. There's Kayla Kowalik, graduate assistant for Kentucky. Probably, you know, we talk about Erin Koffel being one of the greatest cats of all time. Kayla Kowalik has that moniker. All-time leader in hits in Kentucky history. Couple of first-team nods in the SEC, 2-time all-defensive catcher. She was an elite catcher, elite hitter, and Rachel Lawson was talking earlier this week. Said about 85% of her career at-bats were quality.
Yeah, and you don't see that. That is a generational player, and the fact that she's wanting to stay within the game, coming back to coach, the fact that the Kentucky players get to be around her and her energy, like that's going to do nothing but continue to boost this program.
Career runs scored leader as well was Kowalik. She hit career .424. That's like Amanda Lorenz levels of good. On base 50% of the time in her career. Walsh lasers this foul. In 2021, she was one of just 9 Power 5 players in the history or in the past 40 seasons to win the batting title.
And I love whenever we were talking to Coach Rachel Lawson about what it's like, you know, having her in the dugout instead of on the field. And
this one will get out of play.
She quickly said, it's horrible. It's horrible. She wants Kayla Kowalik on the field. But again, The fact that she can't necessarily have her on the field, she gets to have her in some capacity in the dugout, able to impact these players and still have an impact at the university.
Generational talent for sure. Nobody out for Walsh. Unloads on the ball. Left center field. No doubt about it. Off the video board in left center, a 2-run blast, and the career tour here in 2024 for Reagan Walsh continues at the plate.
We are truly seeing the power of Reagan Walsh. You see this pitch pretty much right down the middle, and Reagan Walsh just unloads. I wonder if that scoreboard wasn't there, how far that ball would have just kept going.
12th home run of the year, and the celebration. Got some numbers for you. Went 240 feet.
Wow.
Launch angle of 28, exit velo of 80.
That's scary, that exit velo of 80 miles per hour. That's a hard hit ball.
Wallace hit an 82 mile per hour double yesterday. Gators overall just hitting it hard right now. Gators now 1 run away from that run rule run to make this an 8-run differential. So look at the power numbers in the last handful of games. The Gators have homered in the last 7 straight games, and they've had 14 home runs during that span. The last 4, they've had multi-homer games. Ava Brown takes a shot at one, but that's shallow left center. As Blanton has re-entered in center field, makes the catch. Actually, that's Vanessa Nesby out in center. We've had 3 center fielders for Kentucky today.
And this Florida lineup, you were just talking power numbers, and I was thinking in my head, before the season started, looking at people on the roster, I was like, oh, this is going to be more of a speedy lineup. They're going to, be running the bases well, and they're not just that, for sure. I mean, this lineup really has every component of the game that you would want in it. You have speed, you have power, you have consistency.
And the biggest concerns, as Bailey Goddard's pinch hitting here, was that pitching staff. It's not very deep right now. You have 2 very good freshmen, but they have pitched at an extremely high level. And you marry that with the offense, the speed, all those areas that you talk about, and it's a top-tier SEC team. They were picked 7th in the preseason poll. This don't look like a 7th-place team in the league.
No, and like I said, I'll be honest, before season, I was like, okay, yeah, 7th. Like,
sounds right.
Yeah.
By the way, we mentioned Bailey Goddard is the talented artist of those Tim Walton sneakers today.
I love seeing all the different hobbies that all of these college athletes have, because again, so much of their time is consumed with sports, with classes, and all of those things. So it's really nice, and I feel like it's a mental break whenever you see them invest in those hobbies, and it's always cool to see too.
There's a strike. What was your hobby in your All-American days at Alabama?
Oh man, I guess I would say baking.
Okay.
I'm a baker.
You didn't bring anything today for the broadcast.
I'll write it down.
This one's fouled away. What's the best thing that you bake, like your go-to?
I would say I do some really good loaded brownies.
What consists of the loadedness?
Well, so we have a Reese's peanut butter brownie. So it's a normal brownie layer. It's topped with a peanut butter middle piece and then a melted chocolate ganache topping with Reese's Pieces and peanut butter drizzle.
And you didn't bring that today. You're a talented baker.
I'll write it down for next time.
Loaded brownies. Maybe you can make one for every single person in our audience. Make sure you tweet it, Sydney Littlejohn Watkins, that you owe the entire audience a loaded brownie just for bringing it up. As La Quintana calls for time. We'll do it again tomorrow. Kevin Brown, Amanda Scarborough will have the call. ESPN 2 for the finale of this one. 12 noon. Goddard lifts this deep left field, and this one is over. The run rule clincher comes off the bat of Bailey Goddard.